Welcome back, everyone, to Legal Briefs on CP24, simulcast across the country on Court TV Canada. I'm Lorne Honickman. I'm here with Dave Parkinson from the Canadian Coalition Against the Death Penalty. And we've been talking tonight about the death penalty because in probably, I guess it's less than 6 hours now, Stanley Tookie Williams will be killed. There's no other way to say it. Will be put to death. In the state of California today, Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger denied his petition for clemency. This is a live shot out in... Okay, sorry, this is not live. This was just a little earlier in front of San Quentin Prison, where the crowd will get bigger and bigger as the night goes on. There is a one final appeal that is now pending before the U.S. Supreme Court. It seems to be, it's almost like one of those, we've seen it in the movies, the telephone is right there. They're waiting for a person to call. And what I was saying before the break is that after that happens, we saw it with Ted Bundy, we saw it with a lot of people, there will be those who will be there. There will be sadness. There will be people who will say he deserved it. And then they move on in the U.S., and it will happen to someone else. And it raises the question again, do we ever want to be in that position again in this country?
No, definitely not.
Well, your position is no. Interesting, so many callers, I would think, have been agreeing with you in some ways, but we've had others who have said that it depends on the situation even, and what happens. Mark, what do you think about this? Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, well, first of all, I'd like to say that I'm a firm believer in the death sentence. I will definitely believe in an eye for an eye. And what I ask myself is, why do we have to support these people that are in jail? Our taxpayers are paying a whole lot of money to let these people eat, let these people live, let these people breathe the air that we are, and I totally think that it's unfair. For example, there's criminals that seem to enjoy their time in prison, and rather than being out, in the world, making their own money, making money, and supporting a family. So it's again for you, Mark.
It's a financial issue for you, like one of our other callers again.
Yes, I think it is a financial issue.
Interesting. What you? Well, this is the second caller who's talked about the whole issue of supporting somebody in prison.
I wanted to mention, too, with the last caller as well, who mentioned that. It has been proven time and time again it is much cheaper to incarcerate somebody for a term of years or for a life sentence than it is to go through all the appellate process. I mean, the number of appeals that are given in any free and fair democratic society where they don't just take you out back after you're sentenced and shoot you, are going to cost the taxpayers money, and they're going to cost the taxpayers a lot more money than it would be just to simply incarcerate them for a period of years or for a life sentence. So if it comes down to a monetary issue, life sentencing is much cheaper than capital punishment.
And Mark,
if we live in a free and fair democratic society, of course.
Mark, are you not worried about errors that could be made and have been made in this country?
Well, I believe that errors could be made, but another thing is that, when it comes to education as well, I mean, like, we know of a case where someone was paid for their education in full while they were in prison as well, especially after they've committed a crime. I don't think that they should be worthy of that either.
All right, Mark, appreciate your call. Thank you very much. Let's head across the country to Alberta. Dan, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Hi, Dan. Go ahead. Welcome to the show.
Well, after those 4 mines get shot in Maristow, Alberta, that should be the first topic coming up for the...
Well, I was going to ask you about that.
Actually, it's the start of the proposal right now.
The 4 officers who were killed in Alberta by somebody who had, it looked like, from what we have seen, and of course we don't know yet, planned and deliberate. Have there been calls out there for, you think that if it was put back on the table in Alberta, that case alone, Dan, would...
Oh, definitely. In Alberta, yeah, definitely.
It would, eh?
Definitely. When you start picking up police officers, that's getting pretty bad and low. That's the start of the death penalty starting out right now.
And it's
definitely.
And it's interesting because...
And that one gets shot with a Saskatchewan, I believe.
Right.
On the highway, left to die. That's a little bit much, I think.
I think you'd have a lot of Canadians who would draw this distinction I think a lot of them would say no death penalty unless it's very specific. And we hear this all the time. Dan talking about police officers, we heard somebody else.
Well, certainly when, somebody in law enforcement is murdered, certainly that, you have to send a message to society, but to execute the individual doesn't send that message.
New York State brought the death penalty back some years ago. I don't know what year. How many people have they killed anybody yet?
No, I think that right now, I believe there's 5 people under sentence of death in New York State, and that's it. I may have the numbers wrong, maybe more, but I believe it's only 5, maybe 6 at the most. And with the appeal process, they're looking at least another decade before any of them come up with a serious execution date.
Dan, would you like to see a referendum in this country?
Most certainly. It's the political situation today in Canada, it's so silly. All these politicians are scared to talk with strong topics that should be discussed.
All right, appreciate. Thank you very much.
Yes.
A lot of people would say Alberta would be one province that, if you looked at your 53% support, well, there'd be a lot of support out there.
I don't want to, like he said, politicians aren't talking about it, and I certainly don't want people that I'm going to the ballot box to vote for to be talking about taking Canadians, putting them in cages and killing them. That's frightening as far as I'm concerned. And the way things are now, there certainly need to be reforms to our justice system.
There's got to be reforms to the sentences. I think there's no doubt about that. I think that most people would agree with that. But whether we should ever bring this back and put it on the table again in this country, no, that's a different question.
We definitely shouldn't. And if you look at the model of the European Union, for instance, in their constitution, they have a clause in there that does not allow any of their member states to retain capital punishment, which is one of the reasons that Turkey's had such a difficult time trying to get in the European Union. They just recently abolished capital punishment. There's some other issues now.
Right.
But certainly the vast majority of countries, free countries in the world, have abolished it. The United States is in the company of Iran, Saudi Arabia, China, and various other smaller countries around the world that don't really have what we could consider to be a democratic or fair and democratic court system.
All right, we're going to take another break here on Legal Briefs. We will get back to your calls and questions when we come back.